Hello, I'm Jim, and welcome to Rallying in America, the Recce Podcast. This podcast is an exploration of a rich history, the stories and memories of those who made and make Rallying in America so great. Enjoy the show. Well, thanks for being on the podcast. If you could just tell us a little bit about yourself and your background for starters.
Yeah, of course. No, thanks for having me. My name's Andrew Wolbert. I've been involved in the rally community since about 2019. If you can see the background here, I'm sure obviously the listeners won't get to see it, but I've been attending since 2019 with obviously the exception of the COVID year for a lot of the events, but been photoing different events on and off for the last 4 or 5 years now, specifically the STPR event in central Pennsylvania. It's kind of my quote-unquote home event. Been a photographer motorsports-wise since about 2018.
Okay.
Been pretty much up and down the East Coast for a lot of different series. But yeah, that's pretty much the gist of it.
Okay. So first of all, what got you into photography?
I actually, in college, majored as a digital media arts communications. Took marketing, took a couple photo classes, couple video classes, and pretty much after college was just looking for something to do outside of, the normal 9 to 5. I actually work in automotive parts as my full-time job, so I've always been attracted to cars, so to say, and thought it would be something cool to kind of just get me a little closer to the cars themselves.
Okay, so yeah, my next question was how you got into doing motorsports.
So it's an odd but not quite surprising on how I got started. Really all it takes is asking the right people at the right time. I had a few friends that did like kart racing back in Buffalo, and that was kind of what kicked off all I have to do is ask these people if it's okay. And eventually it led me to attending STPR as a spectator, with just bringing a camera and kind of just hanging out at a couple of the spectator areas. And it kind of got me thinking, there's got to be a way to just do this. And lo and behold, you just click on a few links, and next thing you know, I'm accredited to go and shoot a rally. Now,
great, yeah.
Obviously, there's steps to that, but that's more or less how I started.
Right, okay, excellent. So I was looking at your website. So you do cover a lot of different motorsports other than just rallying. So I see drifting and drag racing. Is rallying your favorite, or you kind of like it all? Or?
Yeah, I would have to say rally is probably my favorite and most challenging to shoot. I was definitely the stereotypical kid, dad's working on the car in the driveway. Hey, hold the flashlight here. And that kind of spawned my interest in cars from there. But what I think really set it off was, I'm sure, back in the day, if you were into motorsports, a lot of people used to watch the X Games rallycross competitions. Yeah. I vividly remember watching Colin McRae rolled his gold Subaru competing against Travis Pastrana and Ken Block, and I think that's what solidified my rally is cool. Like, that was the moment where I was that's what I want to go and see.
Right, yeah. For me, it was a little bit older than you are. So Group B was very popular in the 80s when I was growing up, and my cousin was into cars quite a bit. he would get Road and Track and all these magazines. So I was pretty amazed at how with Rally, they'd roll a car, the fans would come running out, get them back on their wheels, kick the windshield out, and then just keep on driving. I thought, oh wow, that's pretty amazing. The dynamic of it and how crazy it was back in the Group E era.
Yeah, sadly, I never really got to see any of that. I mean, I've watched all the YouTube videos and all the clips on Instagram and that, and it's still to this day, like at least at the very top level, the speed that they've achieved is definitely on par with what Group B used to run for sure.
All right. I think I just read somewhere recently that the speeds are actually a lot faster, I think, but the safety aspect is much greater, obviously. So
yeah, and I mean that's just a testament to vehicle technology in the last few decades alone. I mean, we've seen changes in the FIA standards probably, I don't know exactly how many times, but at least in the last decade, we've gone through 2-3 different iterations of roll cages and such at the top level.
Mm-hmm. Right. Oh, yeah. It's pretty amazing to see how they've evolved, just the roll cages themselves and the.
Yeah, I mean, you look at a Group B car from back in the 80s, and like the tubing thickness that they use isn't even close to what it is now.
Oh right, yeah, and they like to stretch the rules a bit there and kind of see what they could get away with. I'm sure.
Definitely, most definitely, yeah.
Yeah. So, why don't you tell us a little bit about what you do for the Susquehannock Trail Performance Rally and your role there?
Yeah. So, starting back when I was spectating, I more or less just donated my photos because pretty much in 2020 with the COVID year, they had canceled all of the rally events, and it seemed going into 2021, there were 2 photographers, maybe 3. And when you're talking hundreds of miles of competition and transit, only 2 or 3 photographers to cover 20, 30 cars is almost impossible.
Right, yeah.
So 2021, I actually wrote an email submission to the American Rally Association and to the Susquehannock Facebook page, basically, saying, hey, I shot these photos at a couple of the spectator zones. Would you have any interest in using them? Because I didn't see any photographers at those areas. Sure enough, they ended up posting, I think, 2 or 3 of them on the American Rally page. So from there, it just kind of started this snowball of, maybe there isn't as much support for rally in North America and, specifically Susquehannock, because it seems like maybe just the location didn't seem like there was that ease of access. Mm-hmm. And now, fast forward 3-4 years later, I've gone every year as a photographer, and each year it seems like it's been growing more and more. Now I'm sure rewind to 2003, 2004, when it was part of the SCCA Rally America days, the population of people that attended definitely was probably on par with where it was for like 2022 when they ran it as a national for that 1 year.
Right.
There's quite a few of us that run the media pages now. So myself, my brother, actually, my younger brother, Connor, a couple of my buddies that we kind of just don't want to say basically donate our media, but we have a few of us that kind of help the organizers with running their Facebook and Instagram, because let's face it, this day and age, that's where a majority of people are going to see pictures and such now.
Right.
So that's, at least the last 3-4 years, that's what I've been up to with Susquehannock, is basically helping them with publicity.
Right. And it's also, from my understanding, a lot of the organizers are volunteers.
Oh
So
yeah.
they have day jobs, and
Yep.
they don't always have the time and ability to do the social media and
Yes. So
promotion.
pretty much, as far as I know, all of us,
Mm-hmm.
myself included, along with my brother, we are all volunteer based. Like everything you see as far as the organization itself of Susquehannock Trail Performance Rally, it
Mm-hmm.
is all volunteer based.
Right.
None of us are taking a paycheck to help run this.
Right. And I think there's a misconception about the American Rally Association in that they're the ones organizing the rallies. So if a rally falls off a schedule, you know, a lot of people kind of, hey, ARA, what's going on? And I think there's
Yeah,
a
yeah.
lack of understanding that it is a local group that is putting this together, and it's not such an easy task.
Yeah, absolutely. And speaking of schedule, I'm sure the listeners may be tuned in with the most recent schedule release for the
Eh,
upcoming 2025 season, and
Right.
I've already seen a number of comments. Hey, where is STPR? Well, STPR didn't go anywhere. It's just we need the volunteer support and the local support to
Mm-hmm.
kind of push the event forward.
Right.
Without the volunteers such as, Sue Ann and a few of the other people that
Mm-hmm.
I've been in touch with the last few weeks, kind of getting the ball rolling for this coming season,
Right.
without the volunteers, the event wouldn't happen. And like you said, it's not up to the American Rally Association to host the event. They're more so the promoters, I guess you
Right.
would say.
Correct. And with STPR, it's a regional, so a lot of the schedule that gets passed around is going to be the national route points rallies,
Correct.
and you don't
Correct.
see a lot of the regionals and super regionals. And STPR is a super regional. Can you tell us what the difference between like a regional and a super regional is?
Yeah, so with a region, it comes down to the mileage that they run on as far as
Okay.
competition mileage. In From my understanding, in order to make a national event, I believe there's a minimum of 120 competition miles. May
Okay.
want to fact check me on that, but I'm pretty sure it's about 120 miles. The
Mm-hmm.
last believe 2 years, it's been hovering between 100 and 110 competition miles at
Mm-hmm.
STPR,
Okay.
which would qualify as a close to national. So
Mm-hmm.
that kind of is where we get the super regional from. Regional rallies are
Okay.
usually right around or under that 100-mile competition mark.
Okay. So and it's not always easy, right? Because you have to get permissions from landowners, whether they're public or private, and sometimes you're gonna run into some issues that way, I imagine.
Yes, and that is definitely one of the things that not even just STPR or Susquehannock really faces. That's all rallies across the board.
Mm-hmm.
That's why you see year over year, if you attend, Lake Superior Performance Rally and Susquehannock Trail Performance
Mm-hmm.
Rally, you may see different stages being used year after year just because local landowners or the Forestry Service or
Mm-hmm.
state representatives just feel the need that they need to have a diverse use of roads. And to their credit, that may save some of the roads because rally is inherently, an abusive sport on both car and road.
Right.
I mean, you walk through a rally road after they just got done racing on it,
Yeah,
it it takes a beating,
it
especially
does. They're torn up.
after attending Lake Superior Rally a few times. It's very sandy up there.
Mm-hmm.
Susquehannock is known to be a little more rocky, so the roads
Yeah.
I feel don't get as abused. But
Okay.
yeah, definitely that's one of the big issues is getting ownership rights to the roads
Right.
and you can only use so many roads and have connecting roads, and then have to have people watch those connecting roads so you don't get local traffic confused about road closure. That's a
Right.
whole nother topic.
Well, there's the benefit of the waste management property that a stage or maybe several stagers are run on. Um, yeah, there's no real worry of traffic or anything, and it's a great spot for the STPR for a spectator because of the jump section there and that. So
Absolutely. That was actually going back to 2021. That
mhm.
was pretty much, they ran, I believe, one or two forest stages,
Okay.
and then the rest of the rally was exclusively run at Waste Management
Oh
there.
wow. Okay.
So my first time really photographing in 2021 was predominantly at Waste Management.
Hmm.
And like the photo in my background
Yeah.
here, that is the Waste Management jump. And from year over year, the spectator crowds are definitely getting larger
Oh,
because
absolutely. I remember
it's
just going there at 2022, and then I think it more than quadrupled in 2023, and it wasn't a national event in 2023. And I thought, wow, this is great. It's growing and
it's
it's fun to watch.
for those of the New England Forest Rally listeners out there,
Hmm.
that Waste Management jump will give Concord Pond a run for its money.
Oh yeah, I've
I mean,
seen
so
footage of that.
going back to when Ken Block and Travis Pastrana ran through there, I mean, they were hitting 120, 125 feet across the jump.
Oh yeah, it's pretty amazing. And then every once in a while they switch up the direction in which the cars
Oh
run,
yeah,
but it's a fun stage because you can hear the cars really coming through, and it's almost like it's slow motion at first, and then it's just a big blur by the time they hit the jump and go over it. And
and I
um,
think one of the other good things about having Waste Management on, they've been on since I want to say it was like 2008,
mm-hmm.
2013, in that time frame between those few years where Waste Management really stepped up and
Okay,
started to host an actual stage there
yeah,
on their property. Um, that is probably the most accessible stage, at least to my knowledge,
mm-hmm.
other than even even at Lake Superior Performance Rally.
Okay,
They have the final stage up on the ski hill.
okay,
That is a troop. If you are trying to get up and view the cars up close, that is a hike to go up that ski hill.
yeah, I bet.
Whereas the Waste Management stage, you can drive right up to the jump, and I watched quite a few lowered cars make their way up there without any problem.
And
So
yeah, but speaking of rocks, the other section at Waste Management, other than the jump, can sometimes have some pretty good sized rocks that kind of flip
yes,
out, roll into the stage. So that makes it kind of interesting
it is
for the drivers.
definitely, yeah, it's definitely not a car breaker, but it is definitely challenging, especially when they have the national events there and have the bigger cars that really
Hmm.
carry a lot of speed. You'll go almost at top of fifth, close to 120 miles an hour. You
Yeah,
slam on the brakes and put the car sideways into a turn, that's going to dig up a lot of material from the road.
yeah.
And that's when you get to see those, we like to call them baby heads,
Okay.
rolling through the road. And
All
that's when you
right.
start seeing crushed skid plates and broken
Right.
control arms.
And I think one year I was there, yeah, somebody just annihilated one of their rims
Yeah.
hitting one of those
Oh, yeah.
rocks. Yeah. So great. Um, so let us know the dates for SDPR for 2025.
Yeah. So historically, it was always a mid June, early June. The past few years, they flipped it around to September.
Mm-hmm.
Now they're slowly drifting their way back to the summertime. With 2025, the schedule is putting it at July 11th and 12th.
Okay.
So those listeners out there that are thinking about it, maybe on the fence about going, July 11th and 12th,
Okay.
2025. Definitely mark it on your calendars.
And don't make the mistake I did going to my first rally in 2022, where they were set up for service. We kind of had to be somewhere on that the last day of the rally, and we kind of drove back to where the service was, and everybody was gone. We thought, oh, is that the end of the rally? But they packed up, moved the service to a different area near Wellsboro, and we totally missed out on it. So that's something to remember with these rallies is just ask questions and where the best places to observe and then what to expect and don't miss out like we did that first year.
Yeah,
so.
I would say it's very fluid. Things happen very fast in rally. Like you said, they do move service locations.
Mm-hmm.
It always used to be run Susquehannock when it was the pro rally back in the 90s and early 2000s. That was always run as a one-day event. So yes, you would have one service location. Back in 2008, when Waste Management started to come on, that's when they started to run a separate 2-day with 2 service locations. So that things move very quickly. And if you are thinking of coming out to spectate or even volunteer, because like we said earlier, volunteers are always needed, and you don't have to have experience. The board members and other volunteers will definitely show you where to go and what to do. Right. It's probably one of the most accessible rallies that you can get up to. Like we discussed, Waste Management, you can drive right in. Yeah. There's no, you're not going to get lost in the woods making a wrong turn on a Forest Service road. It's pretty well mapped.
Right. Oh, yeah. And Wellsboro is a beautiful town in itself where they have the park expose and such a great place to visit, too. If no one's been up there before, it is a beautiful town. We really enjoy going up there.
Yeah, it is. And just bouncing off a little bit of the history, it wasn't always run out of Wellsboro. That was kind of an addition that was made back in pretty much all the way back to when SCCA took over. It was like 1975. Mr. Leathersitch, Bill was his first name, was one of the founding members of the official Susquehannock Pro Rally. That was always traditionally run out of central New York, back up towards the Rochester area. Yeah, so for those historians out there, they could probably correct me on a couple of these dates, but I believe it was 1972 was the last official road rally run out of Rochester, New York.
Oh, okay, interesting.
It was always traditionally a time distance rally out of Rochester. Watkins Glen is actually the reason to blame for that.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, there was a spectator that was killed in an accident at a road race for Watkins Glen before the track was actually built.
Okay.
So they initiated a law where you weren't allowed to race on public roads. That is what drove pretty much everything south down into Pennsylvania, and that's how we ended up with Wellsboro as the quote-unquote rally HQ.
Right. Oh, okay. That's very interesting, how those races can evolve from year to year. And rallying, being in America for over 50 years now, there's quite a bit of history there. And
almost going on 50 years of Susquehannock Trail Performance Rally, if you date it all the way back.
Oh, wow. Okay. So back to the volunteers. So if people want to volunteer for their rally or SDPR, pretty much from what I've seen is to go to the Facebook page for the rally, and they do announcements and posts, leading up to the race, looking for volunteers and help. Is there any other place they can go? Is there
Yeah,
their
so
website?
yeah, definitely as the dates will get closer, the website and Facebook, Instagram will definitely get updated with, links to actually sign up to volunteer.
Mm-hmm.
If you go to, I believe it is stpr.org, that'll
Okay.
get you on the official rally website.
Okay.
There is a tab that you can click on that'll get you to the volunteer form. I don't believe they have it active right now, but I will say if you are interested in volunteering,
Mm-hmm.
there are tons of other rallies coming up
Right.
before STPR. And if you are an out of towner like myself and are willing to travel, that is probably the best way to get a feel for what would be your first rally event is
Okay.
go and volunteer at another event, because when it comes down to it, the volunteers are what makes these rallies run. Um, Myself, I attend pretty much as many rallies as I can throughout a calendar year.
Mm-hmm.
With volunteer support, it really depends on the calendar date when it comes down to it.
Right. Yeah.
Um, if you are looking to volunteer, I definitely recommend reaching out to the Facebook page or Instagram page.
Okay.
But
Great.
like I said, as the dates get closer, there will definitely be more information on the website. And I do believe, I'm gonna fact check myself here. Yes, ARA also, the American Rally Association. If you head over to their website,
Mm-hmm.
they do have a volunteer tab as well.
Oh.
So
Okay. Great.
there are numerous ways to get involved. It's just
Right.
a matter
Okay.
of actually finding the time to sit down and fill out the forms.
Okay. Excellent. Well, I want to touch upon something that a few weeks ago the ARA had their town meeting online,
Yes.
and had a pretty good turnout, I thought, to sit in and talk about the schedule and some of the changes they're doing. And I noticed one of the statistics talked about for the competitors how important is media exposure. And it was on a scale from 0 to 100, and hit the 66 mark. And I thought maybe that would be a lot higher. Guessing that it would be, if you're going for the national title, I would say your media exposure would be probably 100% or off the chart, because you have sponsors and everything. So it dialed back. I'm guessing, you can weigh in on this, is it more of the privateers that really are there for fun and racing and not so much like getting the attention? Or what's your
So
take on that?
so with I felt like that survey was
Mm-hmm.
actually very accurate.
Okay.
I would consider, like myself, my brother, a couple of my buddies that we shoot with, I would consider us like a freelance photographer. We aren't so much dedicated to one team, so to speak.
Okay.
We will get in touch with, probably, it ranges event by event, but anywhere from 5 to upwards 10 teams at a time
Okay.
looking to buy, a photo package or a video package. Even like up after the event, I'll post a couple teaser photos
Okay.
on Facebook, and I'll get messages from drivers or co-drivers. Hey, where you at stage 5? I
Right. Right.
jumped this one turn, and I wonder if you got a picture. So aside you have your Subaru Motorsports guys that have their own video team that
Right.
pretty much exclusively follow them around.
Mm-hmm.
It is very much up to the teams, if, say, for example, it's their first rally and they just want to see if this is for them. I'm sure we've all heard, motorsports isn't cheap.
Right.
That little bit of media exposure could help them, get a sponsor to help pay for gas or spare parts or
Right.
even upgrade a car later down the
Right. Little
road.
things that can add up.
Exactly. So I'm not saying that that survey was inaccurate,
Yeah.
but it really does depend on the event because there are some events that do get more media attention than others. That
Right.
is
Oh,
for sure.
definitely. Yeah. So yeah, it was interesting. It was very informative. And of course, one of the stats asked about are there enough races, and everyone seemed to say no, whether it's regional, super regional, or the national. So hopefully the sport can grow and really
Yeah.
gain some
I
traction.
that the whole schedule thing,
Mm-hmm.
even with Susquehannock not being on the national schedule, it being a super regional,
Yeah.
I I do see it therefore potentially coming back as a national, but like we've
Okay.
discussed, that competition mileage and getting land ownership rights to use a few of the extra roads, that's really the main roadblock along with,
Right.
volunteer support.
Right.
So it's a very complicated formula to get a rally to run as a national, but even coming from just 2021 over the past 3-4 years,
Mm-hmm.
it only always ever used to be 6 or 7 national rallies, and then I believe it was like 3 or 4 regional rallies with one
Mm-hmm.
super regional per region.
Right.
So the calendar has definitely expanded, at least over the last 2-3 years,
Yeah,
for
because I
sure.
think on the ARA schedule, including the national, regional, super regionals, I think there are 19 events.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
that's pretty amazing. I was happy to see how many events there actually are on the schedule. So
Yeah.
um,
And the best part of that is you will see teams, say for example, that compete at Southern Ohio Forest Rally. They'll turn around in 2-3 weeks, reprep a car, and go be at Boone Forest Rally.
yeah,
It's pretty amazing what some of these teams are capable of doing.
right. Because they're
Um,
privateers. They're just doing this in their backyard or their garage or friend's garage, and
yeah, yeah, absolutely.
yeah,
I,
it's fun to watch.
there's
I,
there's room to grow, especially on the media side of things.
yeah.
A couple of years ago, they tried to live stream the couple stages at Lake Superior Performance
Okay.
Rally, and that really seemed to tip the scale on getting like Dirtfish,
Oh, right.
having
Okay.
them
Yeah.
come out and do the stage interviews because they have a huge media presence.
Yeah. Yeah. They do.
Not just here in the States, but also, with WRC
Right.
across over in Europe.
Yeah. It's just an amazing sport to be part of and watch, and um, yeah, I really enjoy it, and hope to learn more about it. So
Yeah.
I appreciate you being on.
No, yeah. I really appreciate you having me on. It's nice to have a growing interest in a sport that has so much history, and not even that. It's one of the few sports
Hmm.
where you could be Jim and Bob's Towing having a 2002 Subaru Impreza
Right.
parked next to, Travis Pastrana and Brandon Semenuk in their factory brand new, $100,000 Subaru
Right.
WRX.
Oh yeah. Most
There's
definitely.
there's no discrimination about what you're driving.
No, and along those lines, the drivers like Travis Pastrana um, are very open to talk to you if you're a fan, and they understand the importance of it. And it's nice when they do the park exposés to go around and talk to everyone that's racing, and it's just the community aspect of it is like pretty amazing, and how
Yeah, yeah,
everyone interacts with each other, and It's a fantastic sport for sure.
Yeah. My quick story, my first time up to Lake Superior Performance Rally, I had never been to the Upper Peninsula of Michigan. I had
Mm-hmm.
no idea what to expect. Didn't have an actual GPS. I just had a paper map and my cell phone, and it was my brother, myself, and a couple of my buddies. We got lost, like
Yeah.
lost in the woods. Came back to service, and amazing as he was and still is, Al Dantes Jr. was in the service area and gave us some directions on how to get to the next spectator area.
Oh, excellent.
He had a thing that I think is carried over the last few years now, the final stage selfie. And for those of the competitors out there that might be listening, I think it's become a wonderful touch to see the camaraderie amongst all the drivers and co-drivers. They'll get out of the car before the final stage and take that big selfie with the whole group, and it's the regional competitors and all the guys from Ireland and Travis Pastrana. Ken Block would be in it, and that camaraderie definitely stands true with the rally community.
Yeah, that's great. Well, thanks again, and really appreciate you're our first guest to be on, so I really appreciate that, you taking the time to be on here. And
no, yeah, of course. I saw the podcast pop up on Instagram and Facebook, and I said I have to figure out how to get involved, because
all right, thank you.
Spreading awareness is definitely the first step in advancing the sport. That is for sure.
So
I really appreciate your time.
Oh, thank you, and same here. It's been fun. Thanks.
Yeah,
all right,
absolutely.
Well, I'll stay in touch.
Yes, please.
All right.
Please. I hope I see you out there at some point.
If you'd like to be on the podcast, you can email me, jim@jimboothdesigns.com, or message me through Facebook at Rallying in America, the Recce Podcast, or Instagram, rallying_in_America. Special thanks to our sponsor for this episode, Brady Instruments, pro-grade, handmade, professional fuel hydrometers. Visit bradyinstruments.com for all of your fuel testing needs. And remember, don't be a fool. Check your fuel. Thanks to Toontank and the artist Nuclear Wave and their song In Drive for the podcast theme music.